There you are. Good morning and peace be with you. It is good to see you and to be back with you for coffee and conversation. That's right, after a few weeks off, we've decided to come back and to create some programming that, number one, will connect with you in some different ways, still give us a chance to be community and to converse with one another, but most importantly, a chance for us to look at the different elements of our faith that bring us together, the intersections of real life that all of us need to allow play out and to deal with the things that are going on in the world that we might be struggling with. So coffee and conversation is officially back, and I say peace be with you. I want to thank you for jumping on and being part of this conversation. And I've been so blessed to hear stories, not only from people in local communities, but the people that watch us nationally, people that I didn't even know were part of our program, or people that I didn't even know ever turned on or tuned in. So we welcome all of you, no matter where you're from. If you're watching today, I would love for you to just comment and tell us where you're watching from. Maybe if you want to tell us what community you're from, that's fine, but we're just glad you're here, even if you don't feel comfortable chiming in, but we would love to have you as part of the conversation. And so over our time here in Coffee and Conversation and the programming that we'll be sharing, we want you to be able to share it with others, to include people that you know might need the message, and to certainly use it within your own family. The people that you spend the most time with, the people that you're offering yourself with. And no matter what time of day you're watching us, or maybe you're just getting on right now while it's live, and we say peace be with you. Welcome to Coffee and Conversation, and thanks for tuning in. But it doesn't matter how much you're able to participate, but just knowing that you're here and listening to our message is wonderful. So I'll give you some insight as to the way that our programming is going to be working on a regular basis. On Mondays, we will have our traditional Coffee and Conversation, but the way that we're going to have it flow is that over a series of weeks, we will talk about one specific subject matter. We will have a theme. And so to kick things off, we're going to be talking about going deeper. What does it really mean to go deeper into a subject matter? What does it mean for us to go deeper in our lives, to relieve ourselves of just being surface, but to go deeper in some way, shape, or form in order to grow? So that's going to be our first subject, and we'll talk about that for about 4 weeks. We'll see how much we get through, but that will be the plan. And each Monday morning, we will have a different host that will go ahead and walk through things with you, and me as well, and find a way that we can grow in our relationship with God. On Wednesdays, I'll actually be leading a series called 72 and Counting. And the reason that we named it that is because it'll roughly be about 72 hours since you were at Mass, and we will refocus on the scriptures from that last Sunday's worship service. And we will go back through them and kind of reinvigorate our faith, recommit ourselves, or maybe rethink about what we heard in the worship that we attended, or maybe I'm sharing something with you that is completely new and something different for you to focus on. So that's what we'll do on Wednesdays. And then on Fridays, we're going to be having a program called The Prayer Within. And The Prayer Within is going to be, again, led by different hosts. And what we will do is we will look at different prayers, and we will go through them and talk about what do they mean to us as individuals, maybe some key phrases that we can point out. But certainly we just want them to be maybe prayers that you have never prayed before, prayers that you might go to, things that you might need in order to be stronger, fuller, maybe just in the times that you don't have the right words, that they're going to be something that you can go to and that you can have that discussion with God and ask exactly for the items and the prayers that are within that one single prayer. So we have a full lineup coming in. On Thursdays, we're going to be releasing a new Faith in Real Life podcast every Thursday. And on Tuesdays, we'll have just a one-word segment. That's going to be a very short reflection based on the things that God is calling us to be. So during our time away, I guess what I'm really trying to tell you is that during our time away, that we wanted to create some sort of way to continue to connect each day of the week and to give a little bit of a variety in order for you to find God in new ways. So again, peace be with you. Thanks for joining us for this coffee and conversation and this chance to reconnect maybe with some old friends. Maybe you're a new friend of the ministry or of our programming, but we're so glad that you're here. So without further ado, let me jump into what I really want to focus on today. And here I am at Trilogy Retreat property, and I'm sitting by our 2-acre lake, and I wanted to talk about the subject going deeper. And I thought, what better place than to sit than in front of this beautiful lake? You see a fountain behind me, you see the boat that we use in order to go around, whether it's just to get some rowing exercise in or maybe do a little fishing. If the winds are strong enough, believe it or not, it will blow you from one end of the lake to the other. But I thought this would be the perfect backdrop in order to think about going deeper. Because if you look back, there's a shore that starts this lake, right? And right by the shore, there's a certain type of fish that hangs out, or this is where the little fish spawn. But if you look closely, you can find the little fish that hang out. You can see them scurrying about, but this also makes them vulnerable. This also makes them available to predators, right? Maybe the muskrats that come out at night, or the raccoons, or the blue heron that you may see make an appearance today. I'm not quite sure, but they're right on the shore, so things can pick them off from the shore. And staying close to the edge, while we think it's safe, sometimes we need to go a little bit deeper in order to challenge ourselves to get away from the things that we need to get away from in order to grow. And that's what those little fish do. They get into the deep and they grow. Also, sometimes it's really cool because you may find mussels that hang out by the shore. You have freshwater mussels, and you don't ever see the full thing. You'll always just see the empty shells. So I know that somebody's having a feast on those mussels that are in there. But as I think about this shore, and I think about going deeper, I'm not talking about like some psychosomatic, we're going to analyze you like you're in therapy and we need to go deeper back into the Freudian part of your childhood and figure out why you're making the mistakes that you are or why you are who you are. But I'm talking about going deeper into a place where there is richness. There is something new. It's a place where we push ourselves to look for answers that we don't normally go to. And so we have to challenge ourselves. It's about that challenge. It's about the opportunity for you and I to go to a different part of our lives, or maybe a different part of something that we're committing to, and putting in the extra effort to see what we might find. And just like fishing out there, sometimes it doesn't pay off right away, right? We need to spend the time and we need to be patient. But we need to know that by going deeper, there's something new that happens, right? And if you're just joining us, I want to say welcome to Coffee and Conversation. Peace be with you. Thanks for joining us today. We're talking about going deeper. And one of the ways that I wanted to illustrate this point, especially with the lake behind me, is that if you look over my shoulder here, next to the fountain, the back corner of the lake is there. And that is where the deepest part of the lake exists. I talked about the shoreline where I can kind of reach the things that are right at the shore, but in the back corner I found out that it's about 11 feet deep. We took a depth finder and we went around one day and just wanted to see what the depth of the lake was. And in most places it's like 5 or 6 or 7 feet deep, but in that back corner part, it's 11 feet deep. So my buddy and I, we went out there, and while we were fishing one way by the shore, when we got in the boat and went to the place that was 11 feet deep, we had to change up the way that we did things. we had to get some different equipment. We had to get some lead weights on the end of this fishing pole. And I really sound like I know what I'm doing, but I really am not good at fishing. I only hang out with people that will help me get the fish off of the hook. Really, that's where I'm at. But I found out that when we went to that deepest part, that there's different fish that live there. And so I had this weight, and if you know anything about fishing, like I don't, but I'm going to tell you something that I learned is that they like the cooler water. So down at the bottom, much cooler. So as I was fishing out there in the deepest part, putting out into the deep, as we might hear in scripture, what I caught was the largest bass that was in the lake, right? Out of all the people that have fished, they've caught some big bass, but when I went to the deepest part, I kind of challenged myself, and I found out that the biggest fish lived there, probably because people don't want to work that hard to go find that fish, or nothing else swims that deep. So he was able to be in this part of growth within the lake. So that was kind of a neat reward for going out into the deep. But I didn't get there without a challenge. I didn't get to that deep part without a challenge. I had to get in that boat. I had to row out to the current. I had to work muscles that I don't normally work. I had to make sure that I stayed steady. I had to make sure that the boat didn't rock. I didn't want to tip over. I mean, because there's lots of things that could have gone wrong. The boat could have had a hole in it. If you've seen our boat here at Trilogy, it needs a little bit of work. That's our winter project, but that thing could have filled with water and I'd have been swimming back. When we first put the boat in the water, one of the funniest things that happened was the oar holders that we brought or bought when we got the boat, they were plastic. And so when I started to row, they both broke off. And there I was in the middle of the water, and I had two oars that had busted off. And I literally had to wait until I drifted off to the other end into the prayer garden. If you've been here at Trilogy, you know where I'm going. But I had to drift into the prayer garden so that I could eventually get out of the boat. So, even though I was trying to get to the deep end, it didn't mean that it wasn't without adventure. And I think that all of us find that out. So I'd love for you to just maybe put that in your comments now, or if you're watching in a tape segment, what do you think stops people from going deeper in their lives, right? If we compare it to faith, we might say that sometimes people are afraid of what they might have to give up, right? Sometimes maybe people are afraid to be vulnerable and they don't want to be open in a way that they could get hurt. Sometimes people just don't want to take the time. But I'm curious about what you think. What is it that stops people from going deeper in their lives and finding richness, finding a wholeness? And we will talk about some of your statements here over these next few weeks. That's why I'm curious to get your input of what stops people from going deeper. You know, as Carrie Ford would tell us, you know, in a way of building beautiful for ourselves, that we have to put the work that goes into it. Or maybe Millie in our faith will tell us some of the ways that we have to build a stronger path to using different techniques of prayer, or looking at the things. Maybe it's picking up the Bible that you've never been comfortable with because you don't normally do that. So going deeper in your faith is trying to figure out some of the things that you're not normally used to doing. Whatever it is, we're going to uncover that over these next few weeks. But if you haven't yet, I'd love for you to just comment and tell me, what is it that you think might be some of the reasons that people don't want to go deeper in their lives? And maybe it's failure or whatever that might be. But I know what Proverbs says, and I wanted to read this to you because I think that this is really an awesome take. This is Proverbs chapter 20, verse 5. And this entire part of Proverbs is just like, if you want to go in, check out Proverbs chapter 20, and check out all of it. And it talks about being honorable. It talks about being lazy. It talks about all these different things. But in verse 5, it says, "The purposes in the human mind are like deep water, but the intelligent will draw them out. Let me say this again. Proverbs chapter 20, verse 5. The purposes in the human mind are like deep water, but the intelligent will draw them out. Now, depending upon the version of the Bible that you have, some of these say that the purposes in a man's heart are like deep water, and the intelligent will draw them out. But it doesn't matter whether we interchange that word heart or mind. The image that I get is I think about people that go to a well, and they have to take that bucket, and they have to put it way, way down to get the freshest water that exists. And people have had to figure out different means to go deeper and to get that water out of the bottom of the well. They've had to figure out different methods to do that, whether it's on a rope, whether it's on a crank, whatever it is. They wanted to get to the freshest and best tasting water, the cleanest water. And so they dropped that bucket down to the deepest part of our well. If we are really willing to go deeper, we have to call on some of these gifts of the Holy Spirit, of wisdom and knowledge and understanding, to see what God might be asking of us, or to be courageous enough to use our gifts. And we do have to go into the deepest parts of our heart and pull out what we're longing for. Amy and I were blessed last week to have a television segment air. And during the segment, when I was talking about taking a retreat, one of the things that I said was that people don't spend enough time pausing to think about what their heart is really asking for. They think they know what they want. They spend different ways of trying to find pleasure or fix the problems, find a better job, whatever it might be, watch a different television program, read a different book, but they don't pause to process it. And in order to go deep, we have to pause, and we have to stop, and we have to think about, what is our heart really saying? What is really at the core of our mind? If we don't do that, we're not getting to the root of our desire. We're not getting to the root of our problem. And so in this first week, my challenge for you would be to just stop and to think about, why are you experiencing the victories that you experience when you have joy? What is it about the struggles that you've had, or maybe hurts that you've had recently, that maybe somebody didn't mean to hurt you, but something inside you just came up and you felt slighted, or an unresolved issue that you've never allowed yourself to deal with? But to go deeper and to begin to address it. And over these next few weeks, as we talk about going deeper, what is it that you really need to be honest with yourself about in order to find peace and security? To get off of that surface level, to not simply go to church to be present, to not simply listen to a program like this to say that you did it, but yet to give it pause, to maybe take some notes, to journal, to think about what it is that you really want. Because if we don't go deeper, then nothing will ever change. If you've ever talked about somebody, you're like, that person is so on the surface. I don't feel like when I talk to them that I really know who they are. And nobody wants to be around surface people. They're fake, right? They're not people that we feel fully connected with. And so we don't want to be with surface people. We want to be with people that feed our souls. And again, Proverbs chapter 20, verse 5. The purpose of a person's heart is like deep water. The intelligent people know how to go in and draw that out. So let's commit to being intelligent, because that's where the most beautiful places of our heart will be, is in the depths. If I think about the ocean, right? If I think about, if you've ever watched a program about the deepest parts of the ocean, they're the craziest looking fish there that you ever see, right? Some of the scariest fish. Like there's some fish that you probably would never want to see on the surface. And I think like God was like, oof, I don't know how I felt about that one. I'll put it deeper so people don't have to see it. But the truth is that these fish that live down there, they have developed some of the greatest tools of survival. Some of them can actually illuminate. Some of them have a light that will illuminate from their body to help them see in the depth. Some of them have found creative ways to find food or to eat or to feel. I know some cave fish that there are fish that live in a cave down in the depths of the ocean that they don't even have eyes, but yet they can function and they can feel their way around, and they have intuitive senses in the other aspects of their body that help them find what they need. And so, my friends, why I bring them up is that we have the ability to adapt. That if we get to the deepest part of our being, and we might be scared about what we find, but we will find a way to adapt if we notice it for all of its beauty and all of its goodness. And we have to do that in this day and age. There are so many things happening out in the world that we have to find our time to get in touch with ourselves. It's like the other image that I have is baptism. You know, if you've ever been to a baptism at a church where they take somebody and they dunk them into the water fully, so much more impactful than just pouring the water over somebody's head. I mean, when they take somebody and they plunge them in to the deep, it's kind of like they're sending them down, they're washing away everything that needs to be washed, and they're pulling them back out of the water as a new creation. So let's continue to do that. Let's go deeper. I want you to find the fullness that you're not missing. And so this week, I just want you to think about what are the ways that you are going to go deeper. What are the things that you're going to address? And then over these next few weeks, as we continue to talk about this theme and we continue to have these conversations in the morning, pull people in that you can continue the conversation with long after we're done. Type in your comments, like I said right now, what is it that makes people that don't go deeper? If you just tuned in, it's our greeting and our wish for peace to be with you. And even though we're at the end of the program, you can rewatch it. But right now, I would love for you to just type in, what are the reasons that people don't want to go deeper? What are they afraid of, or what are they unwilling to recognize, or why are they not taking the time to bring out all of its goodness of life, or to bring up all the fullness that can help them heal? Because that is what going deeper is really about. So I look for all of you to join us over these next few weeks on Coffee and Conversation. Tune in each day right on the Faith and Real Life Let Me Be Ministries Facebook page, or maybe you're watching on YouTube on the BTV channel, and we're grateful that you're part of it. But just know that all of our videos and all of our resources are going to continually be updated. We have a new blog area that's going to come out here in the middle of the month, and we want you to go on there, and we're going to have a bunch of blog postings that you'll be able to read to. We have recommitted to evangelizing in new ways. We needed a little break for our own breather to get our breath to come back up to the surface so that we as a ministry could go deeper. And we did that for you and for ourselves so that we can provide you the best quality content of ministry that is out there and is available. So continue to join us on faithandreallife.com anytime during the week. That's our website. But certainly social media is the way that you can share what you saw today, the way that we ask you to put it on your page. And maybe that's my other challenge for you today is share today's episode with all the people on your Facebook or social media page. Share this video, tell them to tune in with us, be part of the community live at 7:30 a.m. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday as part of the Faith and Real Life community so that we can be in this conversation together, but certainly so that you make the invitation for people that need to hear this message to simply have an invitation or the opportunity to hear it. And they will be better because you shared it with them. So all of my friends out there, I say peace be with you. Have a great week. I pray that God will meet you everywhere that you desire Him always. And I am just going to take some time to turn around and to bask in the beauty of this lake and to see it for all it is before soon the snow will be on it. But also, I need to think about that deepest part of this lake. And I need to think about maybe what else isn't in there that I need to revisit it for, and to maybe see what I can pull out and find for myself. So God bless you. God keep you. Have a great week. It's great to be back with you, and I'm grateful for the gift of you. Take care.